Over a year ago, I made a video, my very first blank is overrated video, Odell Beckham Jr., and he was the first player I criticized and made a video on why he is overrated. Now I'm trying to perfect it because ever since that video and ever since my second video, Russell Wilson is overrated, I got into a lot more detail when it comes to ranking or looking at the details on how the player plays and what are some of the concerns of the player's play style. And with the Odell Beckham Jr. one, I simplified it very, very much. To kind of explain it, I feel Odell Beckham Jr. favors his athletic side more so than his technique side. The athleticism is all there with Odell Beckham Jr., but when it comes to technique, he looks very much like a rookie. He runs roughly around 8 routes. He runs drags, hitches, ins, corners, post, streaks, fades, slants, drags, and all of that. So he has a route tree of roughly 8 routes, and a lot of those routes I just named are college-esque routes. Now, they are used in the professional level by others wide receivers, of course, but there wasn't really that. It's just not as complex. There's not as many double moves in there as there should be, and etc. about how is it. Now, a lot of people would say Randy Moss is probably one of the most athletically gifted wide receivers in NFL history. Yet, even though he was very athletically gifted, he still had great technique. Randy Moss would run these routes where he would fake running a skinny post and then just fade to the outside, an absolutely beautiful style. That would be an example of some of his great route running skills. And the reason why I'm always on his route running and the routes that he runs is because that's really an important feature when it going man to man. Now, obviously, he has the athleticism there to beat it, but usually when he goes up against a good corner, you definitely see him to digress a lot. He's not the same guy. I will see him against Baltimore cornerbacks and Eagles cornerbacks on how he would go on a drag route and he will take it to the house for a 50 to 60-yard touchdown, which is a very good play. But whenever he faces a quality corner, similar to Darius Slay, Darius and Odell Beckham Jr. would run the drag route. Darius Slay will be trailing him. Odell gets the catch, but he only gains 3-4 yards on the play versus the home run play that he would usually against a subpar cornerback. And that's the issue. His athleticism is clearly there. I think, in my opinion, he's the most gifted wide receiver in the National Football League. But when it comes to technique, he has plenty of work to do. Now, my next point is it's really hard for me to respect his greatness, especially in the era he plays. The amount of flags with pass interference, defensive holding, illegal contact is absolutely absurd, and it drives me insane. And I just remember watching wide receivers, and watching like the highlights of Jerry Rice. He went up against far better cornerbacks, and he went up against far better rules that are against him that were basically limiting his play. Now, wide receivers, it's so easy to start in the National Football League, and I really find it unbearable that how can this guy be considered one of the greatest of all times? On the Mount Rushmore of wide receivers, that was in my previous video, and I really just look at that and I just say it's too soon. It is way too soon. I think a next important part about Odell Beckham Jr. is his personality. There's a lot of like iffy traits about him, but there are a couple good ones. He's definitely competitive. I'll give you that about Odell Beckham Jr. And he's also a pretty charitable guy. But at the same time, though, he is a complete prima donna. Now, some people would argue that you cannot win with a prima donna wide receiver. A lot of people would argue that. I think you could. I look at Randy Moss. I think the Patriots could have won in 2007 that Super Bowl if they could basically run a more complex offense. I also believe when I look at Terrell Owens that he was just simply just outmatched by the New England Patriots roster. The roster was just far superior than the Eagles roster. And when it comes to Odell Beckham Jr. is he cannot party with Justin Bieber during a week of a playoff game and not feel as and just do it and just act like it's just a-okay, or maybe not just act it or just feel that that's the correct decision to make. In reality, he should be focused on his job. He should be focused on what he's doing. And the next thing you know it, when you see him on Twitter, social media, when he gets covered by the media and all that, he acts like a complete bitch. I am sorry, but he is such a bitch. There is one thing about him where he was on Twitter when he acted completely flustered over the fact that about how Josh Norman on how that rant went in 2015, and he was acting that, oh, the only reason why he's famous is because of that game he had against me. It's only because of me and all that, which is also one thing. It's a bitchy statement, and it's also a false statement. And then he talks about how the NFL's so against me and all that. He starts playing the victim card, like he's some sort of victim, and how like the rules, how everything gets how he gets just penalized for everything. And I'm just looking at him and just thinking to myself, like, you're playing the victim card so much that just makes you look more and more like a bitch. And not only that he's a bitch, he's also not professional and he's not tough. And that's a big issue with his future with the New York Giants. The New York Giants, his contract is up to 2017. They could extend him, and I could see that happening, but I also could see him leaving or going to another team, whether the Giants could trade for him during this upcoming offseason or waiting for his contract to come up. I could definitely see that because the Giants value professionalism and toughness, and those are two qualities and two adjectives that are completely foreign to Odell Beckham Jr. And it's so important to the New York Giants. They are a professional and tough organization. The O'Maras are very well respected. And you see Odell Beckham Jr., he just doesn't get with the program. The Giants are definitely going to stay with Eli Manning because Eli Manning fits their persona. Odell Beckham Jr. simply does not, and they're probably not going to give him. They might not give him that. It could go either way with Odell Beckham Jr. And the one thing I'm going to look at in his future is that he needs to get his act together when it comes to his style of play by improving his technique and also becoming a better personality. Can he still be a diva? Yes, he can still do all the touchdown dances. He can still do all the endorsements. There's no problem with that. But this guy is not similar to Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor was also competitive and got very angry. And Odell Beckham Jr., yeah, he got angry during the Josh Norman game against the Redskins in New York early on in the season. And I look at that, and Lawrence Taylor and Odell Beckham Jr. are two completely different people. Yes, they have two similar traits about them, and that's it. That's it. They're two completely different personalities when you look at that. Lawrence Taylor was a fierce personality, gritty, tough, and Odell Beckham Jr. is simply the opposite. And now, when I look at Odell Beckham Jr., he's going to have a very successful career in the NFL, but he ain't the greatest thing since sliced bread. Odell Beckham Jr. is and still is overrated.